Markets have turned green at the start of the week, and we are continually watching price action get into these little pockets of liquidity and holding. And so far, we have held this area that we've talked about over the past few weeks. And finally, we are moving back up to the next pocket of liquidity here. What I really want to see from Bitcoin's price action here is to actually break through up above 116,000 to show me that we are really bullish instead of just chopping around. Because right now, even though price is green and alts are getting a little bit of a relief rally, we're not really seeing conviction behind this move. We're not really seeing strength behind this move. Instead, we're seeing a liquidity grab down here in this area. And once we've grabbed liquidity, what do? We go towards the upside so we can weaken that liquidity possibly. But as of right now, it's looking good. So we haven't seen anything bad just yet unless we break past this $107,000 liquidity zone right here. That's something I don't really want to see. Otherwise, we're going to be going down to about 100,000, I would imagine, on Bitcoin. So this is pretty much the last defense we have before actually going to tackle this 100K liquidity zone. So we tapped this one right here. We got a nice big bounce. We tapped this one here. We're getting a nice big bounce. What we want to see next is actually breaking out of this area right here to show us that this next move on Bitcoin is going to take us to 130 and possibly even to $147,000 for Bitcoin. So that would be great for the alts because, as you guys know, the alts like to move with Bitcoin. Now, moving on to Ethereum real quick, we can see Ethereum has held this liquidity zone in this $4,000 to $4,800 range, which is great to see. I was expecting us to come down to 3,100, but we might not get that based on the strength that we're seeing on Ethereum. I think the only way we get down to about 3,800, 3,600 is if Bitcoin actually goes to $100,000. So for right now, I think we're going to stay in this zone unless we have Bitcoin breaking down, which I don't see happening at this point. So we're going to wait and see if Bitcoin can actually break above 116,000. If that happens, we're going to see Ethereum breaking 5K and leaving a lot of people sidelined, which is going to be great because the more FOMO that happens on this blow off top move, the higher we go. So I really want to see that. As you guys know, I'm already positioned in alts. I've just been patiently waiting for over a month now for alts to actually move. They've mostly been trending sideways. It's been an accumulation period. And as we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance here, we can see nothing has happened for the past 28 to 26 days after we've broken out this trend line here. So I would expect this to continue to the downside for alts to gain more share over Bitcoin as they usually do towards alt season. So a little bit of zigzag and then finally drop off down to about 40 to 50%, somewhere down in this range. I do think we're going to go about to 54, or I should say 44%. So we have a long way to go until that happens. So I'm just waiting patiently for these alts to move. The good news is we have altcoins on these sectors. You can see here, we've got a little bit of a green coming out, reclaiming this trend line. We still need to see us pop above this trend line. We're currently retesting it. So if we can push above and hit that 51 and possibly beyond, that would be extremely bullish for our AI bags. Not only that, we take a look at DeFi real quick. We go to total DeFi. We can see total DeFi has actually rebounded off the $115 billion dip. Right now, we are just waiting for us to actually continue because as of right now, it's still sitting in this resistance trend. You guys can see we tapped it here, we tapped it here. Now we're tapping again. We already have a retrace. So potentially another 2 weeks to go till we move towards the upside, unless Bitcoin can blow off, and then this will probably head to the upside to about $170 to $185 billion for DeFi. Now, another coin I want to take a look at here is Virtuals. And Virtuals right here, we've been tracking this since I want to say about 10th of August, and we drew this wedge. And right now you guys can see we are slowly breaking out of this wedge. We have a little bit of inconsistency on the price action there, but because we have the evidence to support us showing us that this is the real areas of resistance, we're going to ignore that part right there and say, okay, we've broken out. So this is our first day of breakout. The question is this going to be sustained? Can we actually see alts pump along with Bitcoin, or is Virtuals going to make another low down here? Right now, I am looking at this chart and saying, you know what, this is a breakout for me as we've been waiting for this wedge. It's been very consistent in showing this pattern. We've held the bottoms, we've held the tops of resistance, and finally we got a breakout. So this looks extremely good for alts. Of course, that doesn't mean we're going to blow up and go straight up. We could have a little bit of retrace, a little bit of consolidation, and then move up to these targets up here. You guys can see these are going to be resistance zones at about 1.5 and 1.8. Once we crack those, the door opens to about 2.6. And then we have our first major target at about 3.3. So even though these are resistance levels, they're pretty much going to be pit stops where we get little dips and then we continue. So reload zones really, and then see us move towards the upside on Virtuals if this is the real move. However, if it's not and we cut down the low, we're going to have to reassess. But as of right now, if you want to be more conservative, you could say, okay, we actually have to break this trend line. But for me, because we're seeing a lot of consistency around this trend, you guys can see we've got 1, 2, 3, even 4, 5, 6, a lot of touches here. So I'm going to go with this reading right there. And what's more important to pay attention to is the fact that if virtuals is going to go on a run, you want to pay attention to the virtuals ecosystem, which I have been talking to my group about nonstop. And there's a handful of agents out there that are going to do extremely well, I think, one of which is going to be Santa, another one called Min, another one called FACY. There's just a ton of agents out there that I think are going to capture a lot of value as the virtual ecosystem goes on a run, especially if ACP catches fire. That narrative, I think, has a lot of potential, which is why I'm very bullish on Santa. I've talked about it loads on this channel. So we just got to pay attention to the virtuals ecosystem as it begins to run off. Now let's move on to memes and see what we're cooking with the memes market cap. And you can see right there, we simply double bottomed, and now we're looking for a potential breakout, which is great to see because everything is kind of aligning. We've talked about how September was going to be a down month, and then everyone started talking about how September was going to be a down month, and we front ran that actually in August. If you guys can see, we got a dip around August 23rd right there, and then we had a dip for the late part of August, and now we're actually front running the sentiment that September was going to be late. So I was talking about how initially I was going to be bearish on September, but then we front ran that, and I said, you know what, first 2 weeks of September could be bearish, and then we'll see us move ahead. But actually, we're getting the signs that we're going to be moving towards the upside a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great to see. I just want to see more follow through on this push for these sectors, but we have started. You know, we've looked at these charts. We can see green coming in. AI is a bit weaker than the rest. I'd say DeFi and memes are a lot stronger, but we still want to see the follow through. We want to see decisive breaks. So I would check out the charts on the 3-day and see what happens in the next couple of days if this chart actually does follow through with the breakout, or if this is a fake out and we actually head down to these pockets of liquidity down here, about 55 billion. So I'll keep you guys updated with that. But something that's really exciting to see here is that we actually have the altcoin dominance moving towards the upside, and we still want to break towards the upside on this move. We haven't yet, but we've held really, really well during the dip with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is showing altcoins having a lot of strength, and the volume has increased in the past couple of months. As you guys can see over here, we have had major volume come back after a period of not much volume back here at the beginning of the year. So another thing to pay attention to. All in all, guys, we are looking really good, and everything's pretty much going according to plan. We've had to adjust and adapt a little bit here and there, but that's what you have to do in markets. Solana is looking to push higher and higher. It's actually looking strongest out of the three major ones, which is Bitcoin, DeFi, or I should say Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Solana is looking to push up the fastest. It's the fastest horse right now. So the ecosystem might pop off because of that, but we're not sure yet. I'm not really seeing much signs other than a little bit of movement in the ICM market. Memes are also beginning to move a little bit. It's just not certain whether it's going to be Pump Fund or Bonk taking the lead here. Pump Fund has put in a move here, and I was targeting this area in my group since about 2,600 on that Satoshi mark right there. Talked about it here. It's been a very long wait. This trade has taken a lot longer than I anticipated. I thought we would get the bounce from about 11th of August, but here we are a month later and we're finally touching that area. As of what happens next, I'm unsure, but volume is definitely there. So I would assume that we are going to continue pushing on Pump as we head towards higher levels, since I've seen something to do with the revenue. The revenue is a lot smaller for what the market cap is. So I think we have at least 100% move in this tank right here, which would take us to about 9,600 Satoshis right there, 92% move towards the upside. So still waiting to see on that. So that would make me think that we're going to see a move on Pump and Bunk. It doesn't have to be one or the other as the launchpad wars get more heated. So with that said, guys, the markets are looking very primed to make a move up. I think we get to see a move on the virtuals platform, which means the agent will appreciate in value at least. I think fireworks are going to be moving in on this market in the next few months. I want you to watch October mainly. Right now, we're going to get the pre-run in September, but I think October, November are going to be very, very explosive for alts. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys again on Wednesday.